Fade out 1. Fade in 3.
Pizza Flix Television Division presents
Well, don't just sit there and grunt. Say something.
All right. I don't like what I have to say, but I will. Lee, this story is no good.
Oh, for heaven's sake. You don't think anything's any good unless Two-Gun Charlie has saved the ranch. This is different. This is better. I think it would make a fine picture.
Lee, I'd be a lousy agent and a worse friend if I didn't tell you that I think this tangent you've gone off on in the last 3 scripts is going to ruin you.
3 scripts?
Yes, this is the 3rd one of these road company Elizabeth Barrett Browning things you've turned out. Now, Lee, I'm going to level with you.
All right. Go ahead. Level.
Lee, there was a time when you could turn out these whimsical things. You were young, full of fire. You could do almost anything. That story you did on Kate Gwinnett was beautiful. Beautiful. Even though it didn't ever sell. But that was 15 years ago. And you haven't written anything beautiful since. You have had it, Lee. You have lost the touch.
You mean I'm written out, huh?
No. You make a living grinding out low-budget westerns and cops and robbers. But you can't go back now and be the young Lord Byron.
I must say, this is a nice, cheerful note to start the week on.
Stay where you belong. Let the kids turn out the poems and carry the torches.
There wouldn't be just a small needle in that torch reference, would there?
Yes, there would be. You don't have to tell me it's none of my business. I know that. But I think it's this girl, this Holly Garth, who's getting you off your stride. What are you doing getting moon-eyed over a girl who's young enough to be your daughter? What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to do something better for a change. And you're right, Holly has a lot to do with it. Because I write better when I'm happy. And incidentally, she couldn't be young enough to be my daughter unless I married at the age of 12 and a half, which is illegal.
Brother, you've got it worse than I thought. Do you have any idea of marrying her, Lee?
I don't know. She certainly made me happier than anybody else has since Martha and I divorced, but marriage, I don't know, that's a big deal.
It sure is. Well, this is all too much for me. I don't get it.
Well, I'm mixed up myself, but the way I see it with Holly and the way I'm writing, it's kind of a second chance for me. If it works out, it'll be wonderful. If it doesn't, it'll be tough. But things have been tough before. Okay?
Okay. You want to help yourself to disaster, go ahead. I've had my say.
Good afternoon.
I fell asleep.
I know you were snoring like a buzzsaw.
I was not. I never snore.
There must have been a stowaway under the couch there.
I'm thirsty. You want anything?
No, thank you.
Lee,
Hmm?
are you taking me to dinner tonight?
Darling, I'll take you to Bermuda if you just keep quiet long enough for me to finish this scene.
Oh. Sorry. Well, if we're going to Chasen's, maybe I better go home and get dressed.
Any way you like.
Well, I read that Ben Walker always goes there on Thursday night.
That's Cook's Night Out. A lot of the boys go there every week. Why?
Well, I just thought if we bumped into him, you might ask him about a part for me in Summer Storm.
No, we happen to talk to him, but why me? Doesn't that deep-breathing bow of yours work for Ben?
Shut up. You're my beau.
Oh, sure, I'm your beau. But if you want a part in Ben's picture, you better start kissing my rival. He's the assistant director on it, isn't he?
He's a child.
He's a child 6 years older than you are. But you go on handing me the same old line of guff. When authors start to show those first little tufts of gray hair, they love it.
You're crazy. You're younger and more fun than any man I know. Shall I get dressed up? We will go to Jason's?
Why not?
And you will talk to Ben Walker?
If I can do so without wrestling him to the ground, I will, yes. Look, I'd do anything in the world for you except let you make a mistake.
You think it's a mistake for an actress to get the best part she ever had a chance to play?
In this case, I think it would have been a terrible mistake. I know the script, I know the part. And it's just too difficult for you yet.
Well, Clint thinks I could do it.
Oh, of course Clint thinks you could do it. He's in love with you for one thing, and he knows absolutely nothing about it for another.
Well, he knows enough to know this is the best part I ever had a chance to do.
Darling, you cannot become an actress overnight. You have to learn your craft before you try the big things, and this thing is too big for you now.
I want to be a star when I'm young. I don't want to be a star when I'm an old lady.
Look, do you want to be an actress, or do you only want to be a star?
Oh, Lee, that doesn't make any sense. How could anybody do that?
Oh, it's been done. My own wife did it, for one. You could probably do the same thing. You have a beautiful face, you have a figure you ought to be arrested for. Maybe you could become a star. For a couple of years, it wouldn't last much longer.
Why not?
Because one day another girl will show up with another beautiful face and another beautiful figure, and quite suddenly you won't look so good to all those people who'll be making such a fuss of you. Unless you know your job, then you can go on forever. Oh, darling, I'm sorry, that was quite a lecture.
Well, maybe you're right. But I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to be a star just as soon as I can. Good night, you old grouch. The least you can do after having just ruined my act tonight is to make up for it.
How?
Well, you're smart. You'll think of something.
I'll do my best.
Lee, I don't handle beginners. You know my setup. I have a handful of good, steady, professional clients, and that's it.
Yeah, I know that, but I want you to help Holly as a favor to me. At the moment, she's handled by some little pipsqueak agent who looks after her and a couple of midgets. She really deserves something better than that.
All right. You realize you're imposing on a beautiful friendship. This will probably be the end of it. But all right, what do you want me to do?
Well, I think she has talent. I do, really. Try and find her some decent parts. Obviously, at the moment, she's not ready for anything big, but do what you can for her.
Brother, what I won't do for my clients.
Another Mr. Stone? Mr. Maston?
Yes, I'll have another. And put it on Mr. Maston's check. He seems intent on taking care of the whole world. I might as well get in on it.
Hello, Lee. Nick? Hello,
Hi, George.
Lee, when are you going to write something with a part for me?
Oh, get lost, actor. We've got trouble enough already.
Now, no lip from the middleman, please. Say, Lee, did you see that story about Kate Winnett in the papers this morning? I thought of you when I read it.
Oh, what story?
Why, she's turned up in Paris. Remember when she just disappeared and none of us knew what had happened to her?
Of course I remember. She was one of my best friends.
Why, I know she was. Scotch and water, please. Well, it turns out she left here to do some kind of undercover work for the government in Asia. She was captured by the commies, and she's been in a prison camp for years. She finally escaped, and now she's in Paris.
Oh, that's wonderful. And after all that time, is she all right?
Well, apparently, she was interviewed at the American Embassy. That's some story, isn't it? You'd never have nerve enough to use that in a picture, would you? Thanks for the drink, Lee.
Yeah. Why don't we try to get in touch with her?
I've heard you talk about Kate Winnett. I knew you thought she was a wonderful actress, but why did you ever write a story about her life? There are a million actresses.
But not so much that she was an actress, although I suppose that did add a certain glamour to the thing. Just that she is, thank the Lord, an amazing person. She was born in a sharecropper. Oh, here it is. She was born in a sharecropper's cabin. She didn't learn to read until she was 18. By the time she was 24, she'd got rid of that cane patch accent, knocked her brains out studying, made herself into a really intelligent and cultured woman, and a very fine actress. And then when she was at the height of her career, she threw the whole thing up and went to work for her country. It really took some guts.
You must have. Come on, bite.
Thanks.
Go on. You still haven't told me why you wrote the story of her life.
Well, I just thought it was a fine story of courage and one that people ought to hear about. In a misguided moment, I even thought that my wife ought to play the part. It was probably the Stupidest idea I ever had. Certainly was the best thing I ever wrote. Probably my last real effort as a writer.
What happened to it?
Oh, nothing. I gave it to a couple of producers to read. There was a certain amount of interest. Nothing very much. Then my wife, to coin a phrase, flew the coop, and I rather lost interest. Put the script in the trunk and forgot about it. That was 15 years ago. About that time, Kate disappeared.
And became a lady spy.
That's right.
You think this time you might sell it?
No, that's entirely up to me. I think it has a much better chance. See, before, it was just a good story about a vivid personality. But now, with Kate's experiences in the last 10 years, it gives it some real importance. And incidentally, a much more dramatic finish than I would ever have dared write.
I wonder who could play it now, do you suppose?
Oh, let's not put the cart before the horse. I've got to rewrite the whole thing, give it a new ending. And then we'll see who the ideal person is. Hello. Oh, hello, Nick.
Lee, I've just left Claude Morgan's office. Yeah, it looks like we're in. He loves the script, and as soon as he gets an okay from the front office, we'll have a contract.
Oh, Nick, I'm speechless. That's the most wonderful news I've ever had. Thank you more than I can say.
Don't thank me, pal. I'm just the delivery boy. You might like to know about the money. Anybody but a rattle-headed writer like you would have asked already. It's 75 G's, Buster.
Well, that's wonderful. You're wonderful, Claude Morgan's wonderful, Kate's wonderful, everything's wonderful. Now get off the phone. I want to tell Holly.
She won't be home until about 5. I've got her out on an interview about a part. You just stay on the ground, old boy. This is a whole new beginning for you. Yeah, so long.
Well, it's great news, old man. I was really thrilled when I read about it. Should make a great picture.
But don't let's turn the pigeons loose too soon. The contract isn't signed yet.
Don't worry. I heard on the grapevine it's all wrapped up.
Thanks, kid. Coming from you, that's a big relief.
Well, I better get back to my own table. Just wanted to say congratulations. Have a minute with Beautiful. I'll call you tomorrow, dollface. Thanks for the bubbly.
Something tells me that young man doesn't consider me too seriously as a competitor for your favors.
Clint's a little carried away with himself, but he's all right.
I know. I believe he really does love you. I do, too, you know.
You never said that before.
Doesn't mean I haven't wanted to.
Have you?
You know, it's all very wonderful, the picture and my big chance and everything, but it wouldn't be worth a hoot if you weren't along to share it.
Go on.
I'm quite a bit older than you, and haven't been too successful lately, but suddenly everything seems to have got much easier. And I feel as though I'm out of the swamp now and back on the high road again. And I do want you along so badly. Will you marry me?
Yes.
Everything in shape, Nick?
All in order as far as we're concerned. Okay, Lee, you can sign it.
It's mighty nice having you back in the major leagues. And to show you that I mean it, I got a little surprise for you. Kind of a premature wedding present for you and that wonderful girl of yours.
Well, I wonder what this could be.
That is a contract for Holly. A title role in the Kate Gwinnett story. Signed, sealed, and just delivered by the legal department. I thought you'd like to take it to her. She signed the contract yesterday, but I just got it back with the studio signatures.
Holly is to play Kate Gwinnett?
That's right. I couldn't see it when Nick and Holly first started hammering at me about it. But when they came in yesterday and Holly said you and she were going to get married, why, then the whole thing began to make sense.
You knew about this, Nick?
Knew about it. He engineered it. The thing that finally sold me was the exploitation angle. Your big comeback on a story you wrote years ago. Gwinnett suddenly turning up so dramatically.
And to put the big red ribbon on the whole package, your brand new bride starring in the film. It's unnatural.
This is my contract, huh?
That's it. And here is the pen.
Lee!
Lee, what on earth is the matter?
Lee, we can talk about this, Lee.
Gordon, until I sign a paper, that story is mine. It's not yours, or Nick's, or Holly's, or anyone else's. And Holly Garth is not playing Kate Gwyneth. Not this season. Come in.
Lee? Will you talk to me for 5 minutes?
Of course I'll talk to you, Nick. Come on in. I've been expecting you. Sit down. You want a drink?
No, thanks. Lee, do you realize what you're doing to yourself if you walk out on this deal?
Yes, I do. Probably better than you do.
Lee, for 15 years you've been a minor leaguer selling formula hogwash to Max Phillips at Blue Sky Productions. Now all of a sudden you've got that second chance you've been talking about. If this picture's a success, and it's bound to be, you're right back on top. Big name, big money, big everything.
That's right, Nick.
But if you throw this curve to Claude Morgan, you're cooked. Your name will be mud in every major studio in this town, and you know it.
That's right, Nick.
Yeah, that's right. And what about Holly?
Now we come to the heart of the whole business. How in heaven's name did you conceive the idea of selling Holly for that part?
It wasn't my idea. I wasn't so hot about it. But before all this started, you asked me to do what I could for her. Well, she convinced me that you'd think this was a great idea, that you'd be there all the time they were filming the picture, you'd steer her right, you'd keep her from lousing anything up, and that you'd be proud and happy to have her do it.
Maybe she should have been the agent.
Maybe. But I've got to be fair to the kid, Lee. She sold me on the idea, but I guarantee you she believed it herself. The only reason I didn't tell you about it before was because she wanted to surprise you.
She did.
Well, what's so wrong with that? A few weeks ago, you were a 40-year-old hack writing -B pictures for Max Phillips. Now you're a big wheel again, and in a few days, if you're sensible, you can be married to a star.
Oh, I sure can. I can be married to a star who'll blaze like a skyrocket for about 3 pictures and then fall flat in the face because she doesn't know her job. And she'll be bitter for the rest of her life, and she'll cry because head waiters don't recognize her anymore. And she'll lie and lie and lie about the picture she's turned down because the parts weren't big enough. She won't be a star, she won't be an actress, she won't even be a wife, because she'll be so busy pretending that she's still something she never was. Oh, no. No, there's some nice things lying around for me to pick up, but not that way, not me. You better have a drink.
I think so.
Lee, is it true?
Yes, it is, Holly.
You walked out? You refused to sign the contract? You won't even let them make the picture because I'm in it?
That's right.
That's the most selfish thing I ever heard of. You think you know about everything, don't you? About pictures and acting and life and love and just everything. Why? Why did you do this to me?
Holly, I didn't do it to you. I did it for you.
Oh, that's a masterpiece of hypocrisy. You did it for yourself. Finally, you got lucky and got a chance to pull yourself out of the self-pity that you've been wallowing in for years. And now, at the last minute, you get scared that maybe I'm going to ruin it for you. That's why you did it, isn't it?
No, as a matter of fact, it isn't, but I don't expect you to believe that. Holly, look, we're talking about a movie. That's probably the most expendable thing in the world. I'm not thinking about today or tomorrow. I'm thinking about our whole future.
Our future? Huh, that's a laugh. You don't imagine I'm going to marry you after this, do you?
No, as a matter of fact, I don't.
But I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to find Clinton. I'm going to go to Las Vegas and marry him. And I'm going to work with him and anyone else in the business until I'm the biggest star in it. Then just try to get me to work in one of your miserable two-bit epics. You just try.
Hello, Blue Sky Productions. I speak to Max Phillips, please. Lee Maston. Oh, hello, Max. Max, I got a story for you. No, I'm not doing anything for Claude Morgan. Oh, trade paper gossip, I guess. Well, here's the story. Listen. There's this nice, clean kid. He finds a sheriff's badge and pins it on as a gag. He's in love with a dance hall girl, and her brother's wrapped up with a bunch of rustlers. Well, sure, I can have dinner with you. I'll tell you about it there. No, I haven't anything else to do. Okay. I thought you were in Las Vegas.
Well, we started. But I had to come back. Here. I did some tearing up, too.
Why?
Now you can sign yours without me hanging around your neck.
And the rest?
Well, that isn't so simple. Oh, maybe it is. I don't know. Even Clint could figure it out, so I guess it must be. Well, I called him and told him I'd marry him, and he came and got me, and we started to Las Vegas. All the time, I was so furious at you, I could have died. I kept asking myself, why? Why had you done such a horrible thing to me? And then finally, I got it. I realized everything you were giving up, a whole new career, money, me. That amounts to much. And finally, I realized how much you really must love me.
Didn't you know that?
And I thought, what kind of a girl am I? Here I am on my way to marry Clint because you wouldn't buy me a great big chocolate Easter egg that would have made me sick. And all of a sudden, riding to my wedding in the bright, warm sunshine, I was cold and lonely. I guess without you, I always will be.
You know, while you were away, I did some heavy thinking, too. You're very wonderful and very sweet to believe that I made this great sacrifice for you. But deep down in my heart, I wonder if I really did. I have a horrible suspicion that I made quite a bit of it for myself, for my big comeback. You know, maybe you were right. Maybe I was afraid of a beginner ruining my big chance. Sometimes you get so close to the woods you can't see the trees. And the Hollywoods are very dense and very misleading. And the undergrowth is littered with casualties, people who got lost. So let's make our little Hollywood story have a really happy ending, shall we?
Oh, darling, I like that more than anything else in the world.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll behave like normal human beings. We'll get married first and worry about our careers afterwards.
I've got a better idea. Let's not worry about them at all.